Welcome back, everybody. Today I want to talk about a particular bank. I want to talk about credit cards in general and the importance of keeping cash and not surrendering everything to the bank's control. We'll start with credit cards. How easy is it to go out with your credit card? Excuse me, today I'm just driving to my physiotherapy on my arm. How easy is it to go out with your credit card and you tap away? So if you buy a new pedal bike, or you go out for a meal, or you fill the car up with petrol, or you want to book a holiday, tap, 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 walk away. You don't have to actually think, have I got the money in the bank? Because you know your credit card limit. Sometimes a credit card limit's 500 quid, £1,000, £20,000, £50,000. It doesn't really matter. Your credit card limit, you know you can spend. Now, if you can use a debit card instead of a credit card, I would suggest that massively, because the money gone comes out of your account straight away, and if the money's not there, it won't let you spend the money. Now, if you need to use a credit card, and don't get me wrong, I understand for emergencies such as like a broken down boiler, or if you need to buy a new fridge where your fridge is just packed up, or a new washing machine and you haven't got enough money until payday. I get that, those are emergencies. But just going out day-to-day stuff, you can really get yourself in some serious debt. And credit card interest is around 18 to 21, 22%, which is insane amounts of money for a credit card and for loans. I've been thinking that a lot of people do get themselves in debt, which is the modern form of slavery. How do you keep yourself out of it? Well, live within your means is one of them. Living only if you earn £2,000 a month after tax, don't spend £3,000, because it's only going to go one way, isn't it? And the further you get into debt, you've then got to deal with the interest every month as well. Like I say, this isn't for household emergencies. Credit cards should be used as a minimal amount if you can. I've had credit cards for years and years and years. Sometimes I use them, just gives me a little bit of a cash flow. But every single month I make sure that what I put on there I can clear. Or worst case scenario, clear after 2 months. So if you put, let's keep it at round figures. If you put £2,000 on there, you could pay £1,000 off a month plus a little bit of interest. So I understand that people have to do that. But what I'm saying is, if you've got a large credit card and you can't seem to get out of it, you're making the payments and it's chipping away 80 quid of interest and 10 quid off your actual credit card balance, what you maybe need to do is rethink things. It would be probably a lot cheaper to take out a personal loan, clear your credit card, and then obviously pay your loan back, because you're not paying huge amounts of interest. That would be a lot cheaper form of interest and a lot lower cost for you every single month. Or you can fish around and you can probably change credit card. A lot of companies now offer a balance transfer. So say you've got £5,000 on your credit card, for argument's sake, you can transfer it over on a balance, and it's sort of about a 3.5% fee. So what's that, about 175 quid you'd have to pay, but then there's no interest for like 18 months, 2 years, that type of thing. So then what you do, you divide your £5,000 plus your 175 quid that you've got. Sorry, I've got a learner in front of me that's sort of pulling right in front of me. I'm trying to concentrate on the roads a little. And then you basically divide it by the amount of interest-free credit months that you've got. So if you've got £5,000 and you've got 175 on top, you need to do a couple of £100 a month, and then you're over the 2-year period, you've paid, your £4,800. Do you see what I mean? So that way is a way of doing it without the huge interest charges. So shop around, look online, compare the market, stuff like that. That's just a quick one. Or look at maybe taking a personal loan over a couple of year period and do the same type of thing, because that could be very cheap to do that as well. That's just a little way of getting out of credit card debt. Sorry, my other phone's going a bit crazy at the moment, as you can hear. I'm going for physio on my arm. It's going to be a couple of hours of pain, but I've got to do it. I've left it too late for an operation. I now want to talk about the importance of cash. The banks, once cash is gone, are going to have complete control of everything. So you're going to find that they will be able to tell you what you can and can't spend your money on. Now, a recent case of this, well, I'll say recent, it was a few years ago now. I was going to buy a watch, and the guy that I was buying it from, he was selling a watch. I won't go into specifics. It was a reasonably expensive watch. Let's keep round figures. It was £10,000 for argument's sake. So I phoned up my bank and I said to them, I need to withdraw £10,000 in cash. What do you want that for? Well, A, that's really nothing to do with them, but I gave them the reason, which is I was going to buy a watch. Why can't you do it by bank transfer? Well, there's a reason for that, and I've had this before. So if I do it by bank transfer, I've got the situation that, let's say I meet up with a guy in Costa Coffee. I look at the watch and I want to buy it. Okay, he's now got the watch he wants to give me, but he can't give me the watch until I've given him the money. Now, if you do it by bank transfer, A, you've got to wait on the phone for 2 hours because they're extremely busy at the moment, because that's all you ever get. Sometimes you're waiting on the phone for 45 minutes before you actually speak to someone. But let's say we get through. I then want to do a bank transfer. You have to go through all your questions in front of the person, giving all the, your personal information. I now want to do a bank transfer for, say, £10,000. Now, once that goes through, because it's a large amount, the banks will probably trigger it and, it'll get tugged aside as a, sorry, I'm just going to get around this learner if I can, because they're not doing particularly well, but everyone's got to start somewhere. It might go over to the payments department. Now, this could take 24 hours. Bear that in mind. So now I'm now in my mind, I've transferred the money after 2 hours waiting on the phone for the bank to answer, because they're extremely busy. I've now transferred the money. So the money's in between me and them.
Begin, say a command after the...
Excuse me, I've just knocked the command button. We're now in limbo, aren't we? Because I've sent the money, but they've not received it, and it could be 24 hours. Now, we're sitting in Costa Coffee. I'm not going to sit there and have 50 cappuccinos.
Sorry.
Oh,
Currently,
God, sorry about this.
Audio sources allow selection by album name.
That's lovely. So, basically, we're now in limbo. He can't leave because I've paid him. He can't give me the watch because he hasn't received the money. This is why those type of transactions are a lot easier. I like the watch. There's the money. Count the money. There's the watch. See you later. Lovely doing business with you. Well, I'd done this recently with the bank. After they'd grilled me, I went and pulled the money out, met up with a guy. Now, the guy advertised the watch as mint condition, and it really wasn't mint condition. It had a huge chunk out of the shoulder of the watch, which he didn't describe, and I wasn't going to buy. So I said, sorry, mate, we've wasted each other's time, you more than me, because you described it as mint, and it really isn't mint. Okay, so we walked away. Now, I'd drawn the money out. By the time I got home, it was too late to pay the money back in. The following day, I took the money down the bank and I said, look, I want to pay this money back in the account. We can't take that amount of money. I said, well, I drew it out yesterday. I said, I went to buy a watch. You've got that. That's all recorded. That's the reason I drew the cash out. You asked me a million questions. I didn't end up buying the watch, so I'd just like to pay it back. We can't take that money out back. I said, I drew it out yesterday. Yeah, but you can't prove that that's the notes we gave you. I said, but you can't prove that they're not the notes we gave you, and they are the notes you gave me. Do you see what I mean? Anyway, call the manager. Manager turns up with his big bunch of keys. Yeah, sorry, we can't take that. I said, I drew it out yesterday. What am I supposed to do with it? I'm sorry, sir, we can't take it. Can you get your head office on the phone? Phone the head office. Yeah, sorry, we can't take it. Now I'm walking round with £10,000 of cash anyway, luckily I went into a different bank and they just said, I don't understand why they're doing that. You can pay it in here, which I did. Not a problem. Done, dusted, forgotten. But that's the type of control that the banks have got. Now imagine when they do end up getting rid of cash, right? Because that's the goal, the ultimate goal. The other day we had a power cut in Spain and no one could do nothing. Couldn't use your card terminal because all the banking was down. So no one could spend any money. If you wanted to go and buy a loaf of bread or a bottle of water, you couldn't do it unless you had cash. Just think about it. Again, no cash, no debit cards. Say the card machines go down for a week. Say there's a massive crash in the bank or something, or that bank's hacked. No one can buy any shopping or put petrol in a car or go to work or function for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Who knows? They've got control. If you've got good old-fashioned cash, which is legal tender, Let's bear that in mind. Everyone looks at you as if you're some sort of problem if you've got 100 quid in cash in your pocket. What's that all about? You can have £1 million in the bank, but if you've got 100 quid in your pocket, you're looked at as a bit weird. Yeah, it's an old school way of doing things, but how much easier was it back then? Now bear in mind, once the banks have got rid of all the cash, they've got complete control, haven't they? Complete control. You need to use your debit card, they might start charging you £2.50 every time you use your debit card. What are you going to do? You've got to go and buy your shopping, they only take credit card. You ain't got no choice. The banks will control everything, and that's where it's going. And this is why they don't want you to have cash, and they want to get rid of cash and make it as hard to use. How many times are you going into a restaurant now? Sorry, card only. I urge people that restaurants that do that type of thing, you need to turn around and go, we're going to go to one that takes cash. Because if we don't fight for it, it's a use it or lose it scenario, isn't it? If we don't fight for this cash, we are going to lose it. And it's not just that, it's the banks. They are going to control everything. You're going to get charged £2.50 a transaction, this hypothetically. Might be 10p, might be 50p, might be a fiver, I don't know. But as soon as the banks control everything, and now say that you want to go and buy a watch, the scenario earlier, they might turn around and say, yeah, sorry, we think that's a suspicious transaction. You can't spend your money that you've gone to work for and been paid into your bank account. You can't spend your money how you want to. You've got to answer to the banks. Control, that's the problem. I've had a massive problem with Santander, and I'm going to name them because this is my personal problem and everything I say is true. They asked me recently, I had to supply them with my tax return, which I'd done. I had to supply them with proof of this, proof of that. They wanted to see, I'm sorry, I'm just pulling into a car park. They wanted to see, and I'm going to be too far away to push the ticket. Excuse me, guys, it will bleep. Oh, everything's complicated, isn't it? They wanted to see my tenancy agreements. I've got properties in the UK that I rent out. They wanted to see them all. Now, some of my tenants have been in the properties for 25 years. We don't have an up-to-date tenancy agreement. They're great tenants. They never give me any trouble. They never call me and say, this has gone wrong, that's gone wrong. I've just missed a car parking space, damn it. And she was driving down the wrong way. They don't give you any room. It's give us this information or we're going to suspend your account. Again, another reason why they've got control over everything, haven't they? So I refused. I said, well, the tenancy agreements, I'm not going to mock them up and I'm not going to get a company to go out and start doing new tenancy agreements. I'm happy with my tenants. They've never ever taken the pee out of me and they're great tenants. I don't need a tenancy agreement. It's a rolling tenancy agreement, they call it. Like I say, if it's a new tenant, yeah, fair enough. You've got to get I don't know them from Adam. I've got to get a tenancy in place. And the deposits for the thing they need to put are all registered with the deposit protection scheme, which is a legal requirement. Then they started saying they need proof of ownership of all of the properties that I own. So that's land registry. Land registry, anyone can go on to. They have the addresses because they're on my tax return. Land registry, anyone can go into it and download a report. Now I said I'm not doing that because it's like 10 or 12 quid a time. And I've got quite a few properties, which I've had for many, many years. I said I'm not doing it. Here's the list of the properties. If you want to waste your time and your money, unless you're going to compensate me and pay for the reports that you're requesting, I'm not doing it. Now we're in a stalemate situation. They said, if you don't do it, we're going to close your account. So I've told them, close my account. I've opened up an online account. Close my account then. I said, I'll give you the bank details. There's a few quid in there, not loads, late hundreds, not into the thousands, but still money in the account that's my money that they're refusing to give me. I've said to them, close the account. They haven't closed it. Then they've said, we'll close your account by this date, which is fine. They're going to close the account. But they're now going to send me a cheque. I've asked them to do a bank transfer. Bear in mind, I've got an online account. Maybe I can post it. I'll have to look into that. But I've asked them to do a bank transfer. They sold me, we can't do a bank transfer. This is Santander. Now, I'm not the only person that has had many problems with this particular bank. And that's not for me to talk about who and what happened with their bank. But it's in the dozens that I've heard of very recently, all with this one bank. So I'm just telling you my personal experience with them. And in my opinion, would I open an account with Santander? Not in a million years. Would you leave any amount of money? With mine, it's not loads. But would you, because they're controlling it. They froze my account, all my direct debits were going to bounce. I had to open an online account, and that's what I've done with an alternative bank. Now we've got this situation that they're going to send me a cheque. Now I'm going to try and pay that in. Failing that, Santander, I am going to issue a county court summons against you because you're holding my money, in my opinion, unlawfully. This is my money, this isn't your money. I'm going to issue a county court summons. We'll go to court and I will insist that you do a bank transfer to me. Because if I can't pay a cheque into my account, I'm not going to get my money back and you're just going to sit on it. Anyway, moving along. This is the importance of having cash, not letting the banks take over, not letting them dictate what you can buy, when you can buy it. If there's a power outage like we had in Spain the other day, you can still carry on. People can still go and buy their food, their shopping, their bits and bobs, because everything can still move along, can't it? As soon as the credit card terminals go out, no one can spend any money. Now, if that was an outage for a week or a month, not many people have got a month's worth of shopping at home. It's just a real situation of use it or lose it with cash. Now, I'm not saying use cash all the time, but I'm saying get yourself a little bit of cash that you can keep on you as an emergency. Some people, and to be fair, I'm one of them, I haven't got an awful lot of cash. I drew out the following day, I drew out 200 euros from my bank just to leave laying about so I can get a week's worth of shopping should this ever happen again. Just something to think about, guys. Cash is king, as they always say. The banks can't dictate to you what you can buy and when you can buy it. You're more in control. And like I say, when the banks do end up controlling everything and taking over and cash is gone and it's all on card or bank transfer, they're going to start charging us. Let me tell you, revisit this video in a few years' time when this happens. And like I say, cash is king and you either got to use it or you are going to lose it. Catch you soon, guys. Thanks for joining me.